7 designation means. I got the press release, but designating the Alaska Marine Highway is part of that. But tell me what that means.
Well, when you enter into the Marine Highway Program, you're part of a national designation that can mean greater access to grant funding and policy attention. It's not news to people who live in Alaska, but something we're really trying to have a national conversation about, that in addition to our highway system, our surface highway system. Exactly. We have our interstate highway system, and we got our marine highway system. We got I-95, we got M95. And of course, nowhere is that more visibly important than Alaska. I think that's one of the reasons why you saw a really historic level of the extension of coverage to include so many more routes that serve Alaskans.
How was the route for the Alaska been chosen?
I'll refer you to the technical experts for a little more on what all goes into that, but it's a rigorous process and one where there are quite a few wickets to get through, because we want to make sure that this is a designation that matches the conditions on the ground, the needs, and also our readiness to support them. We can't just take any navigable waterway and say, boom, you're a marine highway right now. We want to make sure it fits into a network, a national vision, a policy framework, and again, that prospect of being eligible for various funding. It also means that down the line, as Congress introduces programs or expands programs, they can incorporate by reference that entire class of waterways, whether we're talking about riverine passages in the Midwest or those coastal passages that are part of the Alaska designation, and say these are all part of what qualifies, because we've already laid out what that means.
Right, since it's Southeast Alaska, the obvious interest is how, if at all, will this make any difference in terms of the availability of ferries, in terms of transportation, supply chain, things like that? Will this make any difference at all, do you think?
I think so. It's part of the reason why we did it, and it fits obviously into a bigger picture. Take the ferry system. We've got north of $280 million already headed to Alaska through the ferry program that, by the way, we wouldn't have if it weren't for this bipartisan infrastructure package that's a major priority and achievement for President Biden, and something that is here largely by way of Senator Murkowski's leadership and her insistence that ferries be considered in a big way as part of that. That's just one example of one of the tools in our toolkit. Having the Marine Highway designation helps provide a little more structure for how that and other tools can be applied. Wouldn't surprise me in future applications for competitive grants for those that are in this region to cite their participation in the highway program as part of how they make their case.
One other quick thing along those lines. The governor is planning on basing a lot of his matching funds on federal toll funds, a match for that. From your knowledge of the marine highway system, do you believe that it would qualify as a toll match to provide those matching funds to get infrastructure funds, seeing as how you're giving it the highway destination?
Yeah. Standing here, I probably shouldn't weigh in on a question with that level of legal weight. What I will say is that we consider it very important for us to have a partnership where there are federal dollars and state dollars side by side. Of course, there are certain areas where the law provides us the ability to do 100% federal coverage, but most of what we do, there is a substantial match, and that's there for good reason. And states that put forward a healthy level of skin in the game on their side are often able to unlock that much more federal support on our side, and it helps us to be a good partner.
Mr. Secretary, you spent a long time in the air, both here and in Kotzebue, and I know you had the chance to meet with aviation professionals there. I wonder, from a traveler's perspective, weather is a huge contingent, as you experienced today. How can the Department of Transportation weigh in and aid the aviation industry's insistence and just pleading for updated weather and particularly weather aids and navigational aids, which it's a problem.
Yeah, look, we can't control the weather, but we can improve access to weather data. This is a message we heard loud and clear from a number of the stakeholders that we've met in every part of our visit. And it's something that we're actively looking at, including through the FAA-SI, FOSI safety plan that's been developed with a ton of stakeholder input. Now, up until now, that's been a plan, but it hasn't had the force of law or specific funding. The inclusion of those elements in the FAA reauthorization that's in front of Congress right now would create a framework that would help us to get more of that work done. And we know the difference that it would make to have access to that kind of weather information.
Now you know the difference that it would make.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only did I feel it, we discussed it in the cockpit, but also, you know, when you have an experience like touring the medevac facility that I was at yesterday, you understand that a go no go decision is about a lot more than convenience. You know, lives can hang in the balance, and so we've got to make sure that, especially given how often IFR is the name of the game out here, that we can get that kind of weather data that people need. Obviously, none of this is simple or easy, or it would have happened a long time ago, but we know that we can make major improvements. We're committed to seeing that through, and some of the tools to do that with are available in the FAA reauthorization that's working its way through Capitol Hill right now.
And we need to make sure that on the appropriations side, and this is where we keep a pretty close eye on things, is to make sure that we are providing the resources through the appropriations process for what has been in place for a period of time. We want to focus on the new authorizations, but as we know around here, we need weather observation systems. We can't afford to have Yakutat shut down every third time Alaska Airlines goes through there. So how we keep an eye on the ball through the appropriations process at the same time that we're working through good authorizations like we're seeing through FAA reauthor is important.
We have time for probably one more question.
The Ferry Hubbard you took up this morning, it's since broken down. Generator problems.
You mean today? Just since we were on it?
Yeah.
I didn't touch a thing, I swear.
So, I mean, does that change any of your perceptions of what the ferry system needs or how you think of it?
I don't know much about that case. Obviously, in most of the ferry fleet, what we're worrying about is its age. But when a new vessel encounters issues, that's also a reminder that having a new vessel is not all there is to the story. We need to make sure that we're creating the framework where operations, maintenance, and capital planning can go well. But of course, what I saw was a team that's very proud to be providing those services, that I'm sure is working through whatever issues that the vessel's encountering right now. And there's a lot of people who wanted me to hear directly how important ferries are to their way of life. And we had planned a short ferry ride. We got a long ferry ride instead, and it was a great opportunity to hear in so many different ways what that means to just everything that people count on in Southeast Alaska, how that's at stake in that ferry service.
And you can't operate a ferry, whether it's in good running condition or whether it's a 54-year-old ship. You can't operate it without the men and women. And so we realize that we have had some real workforce challenges within our Alaska Marine Highway system. So it is, when we talk about a sustainable Alaska Marine Highway system, it's everything from the shore side to good operational ships to men and women that know what they're doing and can keep the trains running on time.
Thanks everyone for coming
Thank
out.
you.
All right,
Really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Likewise.
We have a really tough press corps here.
Not so much, really. So
Thank
why
you,
was it
Senator.
a long trip?
Thank you.
What's it?
What happened? Why was it a long trip?
Well, we were going to take seaplanes up to Haines this morning. Then we were going to take the ferry across from Haines to Skagway, so less than an hour.
Right.
And then we were going to do a Skagway visit, look at some of the infrastructure there, and get on seaplanes to come back. Seaplanes wasn't flying this morning. There were no airplanes flying north this morning.
Go figure.
And so I called the secretary at 5:30 this morning and said, it's going to be a different kind of Alaska day. Just roll with me. I promise, I commit you, we will get up safely and we will get back so that we can all keep our schedules. But it was a typical Alaska jump ball where you have to pivot. It's easier for me to pivot, but when you have security detail that are used to being in charge,
Yeah.
I think they're glad to be back here.
A little bit.
How was the ride from here up to Haines?
Super smooth. We had a tailwind. We got in almost 40 minutes early. It was smooth. It was beautiful. Once you hit Eldred Rock, the sun started to come out. It was windier and all get out, but it was a beautiful ride up, and and then we were able to catch a ride coming back. We found a few bumps in the skies.
Any whales?
Yeah, there's a pot of orcas off to the starboard as we were
Yeah.
making our way out.
That's an invitation to come back.
You don't have to. You don't have to
Thanks so
twist
much.
my arm.
Thank
I'll tell you
you.
that. Thank you.
Sorry I brought the